A major legal decision is announced, and I'm not talking about Steve Bannon and that horrible haircut. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. Boy, this is hazard pay, and hazard pay on essential workers. Today we'll focus on that massive decision minutes ago in the Uber and Lyft case. Yes, yet another one. And the announcement by Lyft earlier today, which I reported on yesterday. This is afternoon's LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. This always starts every day at 3:30. A 2-hour programming block starts with the check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent assistance. Essential workers under hazard pay include rideshare drivers. Essential workers have been really the topic of discussion in many different realms over the last few weeks, but essential hazard pay is one of them. And the confusion about hazard pay for purposes of stimulus is that it's called different things when different people talk about it. Let me explain where we are. Hazard pay is currently in the HEROES Act, which is currently in the Senate, approved by the House. It's not law. It has not come for a vote before the Senate. It is not in the Republicans' bill. The Republicans' bill is the HEALS Act. Now, to be very clear, because I've done it in the other videos, but I'll say it again. One more again, there is no skinny bill from the Republicans. It doesn't exist. There's no skinny bill from the Democrats. It doesn't exist. So the only two bills you have for purposes of mega bills are the HEALS Act and the HEROES Act. The HEROES Act calls for hazard pay, $10,000. Up to $10,000 if you worked during the pandemic, January up to the present, going forward as well. Calculate $13 an hour times the number of hours you worked, and if that brings you to $10,000, bam, as Emeril Lagasse would used to say, was not enough spice on that blackened catfish. Bam, let's throw some more spice on it. That brings you to $10,000. Bam, right in your account. If you're not at the threshold, don't worry. Don't worry, because the remainder of it would land thereafter, calculated at $13 an hour, everything you work today going forward. Pretty simple. Only twist to it is, first, if you made over $100,000 last year, then you would only get $5,000. If you're not at the threshold right now, don't worry, you would get whatever you're at. Let's say it's $8,000, and you get the remainder then going forward. All sounds so simple until we get to the eligibility issues. More about that in a second. But among the essential workers that are in hazard pay are rideshare. They include also taxi drivers, bus drivers, truck drivers. And so drivers and rideshare is a big issue. It's not just an issue in the hazard pay bill. It was an issue in the second stimulus chatter and negotiations to get the package done, the HEROES Act, as to what are we going to do about those Uber and Lyft drivers. Now, let me explain to you why this is so overly important. It's much bigger than just one court in one state. Let me explain to you what's going on. Congress had a whole discussion that said, hey, these Uber and Lyft drivers are really employees. They're not independent contractors. We need to give them relief. We need to give them money, thousands of dollars. We need to ensure they have benefits going forward as employees. We need to give them a lot of relief. What'd they do? They didn't get to it. They got to the postman again. But they talked about it at least. Now, states, on the other hand, literally had a hot mess express. I mean, a big mess. More like a bigger mess than even Kanye interrupting Taylor Swift during a award ceremony. They literally could not figure out, states, whether you're an independent contractor or an employee for purposes of PUA. And so some states called it PUA, some states called it UI. And then came this. The California decision reported by this channel several days ago. Now, we were the first to report this case being filed. And we reported it when the minutes it was dropped. And that was filed here in California by the Attorney General in California and 2 local cities' attorneys. And it said Uber and Lyft drivers are really employees, but the businesses are calling them independent contractors, so they don't get benefits like essential workers. They don't get overtime like essential workers. They don't get any type of protection like essential workers. They're not doing right. Case sat in court for a few weeks, and then early this week came the decision. Judge said, I agree. They're employees. Either stop your operations or stop calling and treating them as independent contractors by 10 days from now. Well, yesterday we reported that Uber and Lyft could be leaving the state of California, which really caused everything going on a meltdown. And then minutes ago, this. Two things happened. One, Lyft announced they are leaving on Friday, leaving the state of California. But both Uber and Lyft won an overnight emergency hearing. It only calls for an extension of the time to comply with the order to August 25th. The temporary reprieve gives Uber and Lyft until 5 p.m. on August 25th to file written statements agreeing to expedite processes stated in the order. So it doesn't mean that they don't have to start complying. It just says they can have a little bit more time to comply. But what's going to happen? Now, Uber and Lyft had tried other things. Among the things they had tried was AB5, a state bill, to try to have the voters change the law. The problem is they didn't move fast enough. So this came down quick enough, and now they are in trouble. Lyft announced Thursday morning before the court ruling that it would suspend its services in California at midnight p.m. Top executives at Uber and Lyft both said they are likely to suspend their services and comply with the local order. This is a big issue because so many people are impacted in so many ways. Let me explain what this means. First of all, if you're an Uber Lyft driver in another state, what does this mean to you? First of all, you could be entitled to thousands of dollars. That's one of the first things. The lawsuit claims that you were entitled to a lot of benefits had you been an employee but didn't get those monies because you're classified as an independent contractor. What are examples about this? Obvious example is you worked overtime. You worked more than 40-hour weeks but got paid as an independent contractor, just, the driving calculation thing. That's the first one. The second one is that you could be entitled to incredible benefits going forward. The third is your state could do the same thing. Now, some viewers sit back and wonder, what am I going to do if I'm an Uber and Lyft driver? Am I going to lose my job? Yes. So this is also a big other issue because I've had tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of viewers who are Uber and Lyft drivers. I just have. They were getting ideal loans, they're getting PUA, they're just watching about checks. And so a lot of you could have your job in jeopardy. Now, if you're in California, your job is absolutely in jeopardy. But if you're anywhere else, it could be next for you as well. The issue is, though, what does this do for essential workers? Well, this is like when you go to a nice fish restaurant, and you walk in and you say, "Did you see outside? Shamu the whale ate all the fish in the sea." What? Yes, he ate all the fish. You see it right at the entrance of the fish restaurant. It's like, there's no more fish. It's all eaten. This is the element of what this does. What happened here was in the middle of a pandemic, when essential workers and their workplace is such a big issue for purposes of hazard pay. When we're sitting here talking about your compensation for hazard pay, your protection of the workplace for hazard pay, guess what happened? The lawyers went to court to use that for their advantage to talk about an essential worker workplace and said, hey, there's a pandemic going on. They're not protecting these people. And it worked. The issue could permeate. Here you go with LALATE's predictions. And I got to tell you, this one's going to happen. The issue could really permeate into other essential workplaces that don't treat you sufficiently for purposes of hazard pay. Which one would be next? You know the answer. The grocery stores and the unionization of the grocery stores. I've been covering this for a while, that there are certain groups that they better start treating their employees for purposes of hazard pay appropriately, or a lot of trouble's going to hit. Here's what's going on. When the pandemic first hit, the grocery stores that are unionized gave money to their employees because there was a lot of people in the markets. There was a lot of hazard or a potential hazard because people had COVID. They didn't know what COVID was. They didn't know how it spread. We didn't have the sneeze guards yet and all those things. And so they paid their employees bonuses. Now we're up to the present time, and the pandemic is getting worse. They now have sneeze guards in the cash registers. And so the grocery store unions say, hey, where is the bonuses for our employees? They're still working in a hazard pay-like environment. The grocery unions are saying the following response. One, it's not hazardous. We've neutralized the threat of COVID to our employees by creating sneeze guards and this and that and that. And two, we never paid you hazard pay. We paid you bonus based upon the number of people in the store. And currently there's not a lot of people in the store waiting and fighting over toilet paper like it's like you're fighting over an autograph from Mitch McConnell. They're just not doing it currently. And grocery store unions are pissed. So what could happen? Here's what you need to know. Remember that part I said that there was a part about the hazard pay bill that's really not good? Now I'm going to tell you. Oh boy, it's like the final round with Mike Tyson. You just survived all 11, and he's like, okay, now that you survived 11, I'm just going to put you out of the 12. Okay, here we go. After you've worked in a hazardous environment, after you put your body and your mind at risk, after you put yourself on the front line, you've done all this wonderful work for your boss, you've done the calculation, you've watched my videos, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get $10,000. This is incredible. Just going to get Nancy, stop focusing on the postman, get the bill passed. Oh my God, get $10,000. And then I tell you this. It's only if your employer applies. Say what? Say what? What do you say? You only get hazard pay if your employer applies. Well, he will apply. Now, Bubba asked me this as well. If you haven't met Bubba, he's my 200,000th viewer. And he always has the most perplexing questions. So he's like, LLA, I'm getting that $10,000 hazard pay because I'm a truck driver. And, what day do I get it? Do I get it tomorrow? And I'm like, no, Bubba, it's not a law. And your employer has to apply for it. Employer? Yes, your employer has to apply for hazard pay, Bubba. And if they don't, as Bubba said, what? No, it was like WAAAAAHHH question mark. What? Yes, if the employer does not apply for it, you can't get it. Now, Nancy's so obsessed with her postman that she didn't catch that. She didn't catch that error. Chuck Schumer, who wants to do this with his glasses all the time and always look like this and through his glasses. Chuck, put your glasses up and look. There's a mistake in your bill. There's a mistake in the hazard pay bill. No one wants their employee to apply for the money. They won't do it. Now, as you sit back and you're like, well, my boss likes me. Why is this trouble? Here, I'll tell you trouble. Let's say your boss closes the door tomorrow and doesn't reopen. Yes, exactly. Your boss could shut the door. Who's going to apply for the money? No one. Your boss fires you. Who's going to apply for the money? No one. And if you're fired, you still get the money, by the way. No one. No one's going to apply for the money. So ultimately, we have a bill where there's a lot of money and no one's going to apply for it. That sounds really Nancy Pelosi-ish, I got to tell you. It's just, Larry Kudlow calls it the liberal slush fund. I call it the what the hell bill. It's just, every time I look at this bill and I'm like, oh my God, which way do I hold this bill? Because it's just crazy. And she said, well, children are going to go hungry. I'm like, well, get the pen and fix the bill, Nancy, because everyone's going to go hungry. This bill makes no sense. It's just, they talk about money for the schools. How did you go to high school, Nancy? How far do these people go to college? Do they go to college, these people? Because they literally can't figure out something so obvious as asking for the employers to apply for your hazard pay when they're not. And so what I've been suggesting is to, like, tell your fellow employees to, maybe not show up to work one day as a group if the boss doesn't want to pay your hazard pay. Ultimately, the important thing you have to understand is that it's not approved, it's not law, and there's no skinny bill, there's no fat bill, there's no plump bill, there's no rotund bill, did I call it fat bill? I'm not fat shaming bills here, so don't send me hate mess. I'm talking about bills, I'm talking about, people named Bill, I'm talking about bills. There's no version of other bills at the moment. And as you sit here today and you heard on Fox News, you heard from someone, your sister's brother's uncle's nephew, called Bubba, and Bubba called me and said, hey, I heard the Republican skinny bill doesn't have hazard pay in it. Bubba, there is no Republican skinny bill. It's so skinny you can't see it. It hasn't been written, hasn't been introduced, hasn't been voted upon. So a lot of excitement, a lot of twists and turns. Coming up next is FPUC and big developments on LWA, and a rent eviction moratorium is issued. But does it protect you? Go to the front channel and hit that subscribe button. Thank you for helping us get to 200,000 subscribers. Very exciting, really exciting. Bubba was #1 after 200,000. And a lot of great stuff coming. So don't leave us, stay with us. Here comes my plane. Take me to Fantasy Island, and see you on the next video. As always, stay motivated, stay informed, stay focused, and stay in LA for more.